Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck tech for this channel. I know it's been a while, like at least 2 months since I've done my deck techs, and I felt like, you know, it's about time I brought it back. There's some brews that I've been wanting to play in Pauper and Commander and stuff, and felt like I wanted to share it with all of you. The Pauper deck that we're going to be looking at is Grixis Delver. It's kind of like its blue-black counterpart where it's half tempo, half control, where you're just trying to stick one threat and protect it. But we've added in some red for some main board stuff like Lightning Bolt and whatever, but there's also some sweet sideboard tricks that we also get to bring in as well. So that's why we're going 3-color as opposed to the popular Dimir. To start off our creatures, we're going to begin with Delver of Secrets. So it's just a little innocuous 1/1 for a blue, you know, nothing special. But if we can flip an instant or sorcery on the top of our library, it's a 3/2 flyer. Perfect threat for this deck, and as long as we can keep it protected and we can keep the board clear, this guy should be able to finish the games for us. If not, we have some other stuff. Next up is a full playset of Augur of Bolas. So this card actually was just turned into a common from Modern Masters 2017, I think it was, and this card helps a lot with our Delver Secret strategy since we're running so many instants and sorceries. Whenever we cast Augur of Bolas, 9 out of 10 times he's gonna hit. Those numbers aren't correct, but he's going to be hitting an instant or sorcery a large majority of the time when you cast him. And not only that, but for a turn 2 play, you know, being able to have 3 toughness on the board like that is pretty decent. You know, there's a card like Seagate Oracle, which kind of does the same thing in a deck like this, but Augur just costs 1 less, and it kind of works better in our deck. It's just more efficient than Seagate Oracle used to be. Next up, we're playing a 3 of Mulldrifter, so most of the time we'll be casting this for its evoke cost, just to draw 2 cards. But there are times where we will cast it for 5 mana and we get a 2/2 flyer and we can just kill him that way. So this card is pretty great. You know, no matter how we cast it, we get our 2 cards, and whenever we're lagging behind it all, or if we went into a counter war, or if we needed to exhaust our resources to help clear the board out, Mulldrifter can help us reload our hands back. And for the final creature of our deck, we're playing a full playset of the last Delver card, and that is Gurmag Angler. So Gurmag Angler here, he costs like 1,000,000 mana. I think it's 5 in a black. Let's take a look. 6 in a black. He costs 6 in a black, but with Delve, which means we can realistically cast him for a single black mana for 5/5. That's pretty decent as long as like we can keep him backed up, or we just hold on to him until the end of the game once we've exhausted our opponent's resources for making them deal with our Mulldrifters and Delver Secrets. Then we cast a Gurmag Angler, and that will pretty much finish the game for us. Since this isn't a traditional Dimir Delver list, let's go over the few red cards that we have in the main board, and eventually we'll get over to what's in the sideboard. But for now, we'll begin with a 3 of Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt here, classic, 1 mana, 3 damage to whatever. It's decent removal, it's decent reach over for the end of the game in case, you know, our opponent is down to 2 or 3 or whatever. Lightning Bolt can help finish them off, and it's just a flexible spell just all around. It's just a very solid card, and if you're playing red at all in Pauper, you just should be playing Lightning Bolt in general. And we also have a 3 of Terminate, which is kind of the main reason why I wanted to play Grixis in the first place, because yeah, while there is good black removal spells like Doomblade and stuff like that, you know, with Terminate we get to just destroy a creature, and there is some creatures that use a regenerate ability, but Terminate just stops that dead in its tracks. For 2 solid mana, it's just a really good removal spell, especially with like a bunch of reanimator decks in the format like the Ulamog's Crushers and stuff. There is spells to help deal with that, but Terminate is just another card to add on to that list. Speaking of black removal spells, we're also running a 2 of Tragic Slip in the main board, so usually we can just get a dinky little 1/1, but if we do kill something beforehand, we can use its Morbid trigger and take out pretty much everything that's in the format. As far as I can think, there isn't anything higher than a 13/13 in the format. If there is anything beyond like Ulamog's Crusher, which is an 8/8, there might be something bigger, but as far as I'm concerned, this can take out pretty much anything in the format, and it's instant speed. We're also running a 2 of Chainer's Edict. So Chainer's Edict here is a sacrifice effect, but it has flashback. And not only that, but it's also a generic and a black, whereas another sacrifice effect like Guess Verdict is double black, and then Diabolic Edict is also 1 and a black, but that doesn't have flashback. So the reason why we're playing Chainer's Edict is because it has that flashback ability, just in case late game the opponent manages to stick a threat on the board. We can at least bring something back from our graveyard to help take care of them in case we just run out of cards. And for our final removal spell on the main board, we have a 1 of Doomblade. So Doomblade pretty much takes care of almost everything in the format, save for black creatures, of course. But, you know, since we're already running Terminate and Tragic Slip and Chainer's Edict, you know, 1 Doomblade is fine enough. We have more in the sideboard that we can bring in, but solid removal spell is solid. For our draw spells, we're running a 4 of Ponder. So Ponder is one of the classic 1-2 setups for Delver of Secrets. We can play Delver in case we don't flip it the next turn. We can use Ponder to help set it up. Or turn 1, we can play Ponder, make sure that we can set up our turn 2 Delver, or just use Ponder to find anything that we need at any time. It's pretty much one of the best draw spells in the game ever printed, if not after the next one, which is a playset of Preordain. So Preordain is like Serum Visions, but way better. Also helps set up our Delver. It can also fill up our graveyard quickly, just any cantrip in general. For our Gurmag Angler, Preordain just helps us smooth out our draws, you know, in case we need to find lands or spells or whatever we need. Preordain helps along with that, just like Ponder. 1 mana, just fantastic cantrip. And to round out the spells in our deck, we go over the counter spells, beginning with a full playset of the classic Counterspell. So double mana, counters anything. Pretty much can't beat that rate, especially in Pauper. It's the best of the best. And for the next Counterspell in the deck, we have a 2 of Miscalculation. So normally this card maybe I would play in Pauper if like budget was a thing and I just really wanted to play weird counter spells. But in a deck like this, especially since it's 3 colors, you know, it's splashable, it gets to counter stuff early, and we can also just cycle it later to turn it into whatever we want. I think this card does not see enough play in Pauper. I almost just said Modern. I wish it was in Modern. I wish they would have put it in Amonkhet block. But regardless, Miscalculation is a pretty decent card in this deck, especially since it's just so flexible. So going over our lands, it's pretty boring stuff. We're just mostly focused on blue because we have like turn 1 Delvers and like Ponders and Preordains, and we have Counterspell, so we need to focus a bit more on blue mana. So that's why we're running a full playset of Swiftwater Cliffs. We're also running a full playset of Dismal Backwater because they both enter the battlefield tapped lands, and they just gain us a life, but beyond that, they're blue dual lands. But we're also running a 2 of Bloodfell Caves, and we're not running the full playset just because it doesn't run blue mana. But moving beyond that, we have 4 islands, 3 swamps, and 3 mountains. Moving on to the sideboard, I do have to make note that this is a budget list, well, budget for Pauper constraints, that is, and we're not playing Pyroblast or Hydroblast. I mean, if you have them, you definitely want to be playing them because they're top-notch spells in those colors. If you're playing blue, you might as well play Hydroblast, and same with red and Pyroblast. But regardless, the cards that we're subbing in place of them are spells like a 2 of Dispel. So Dispel pretty much counters any sort of instant spell, obviously, as the card says, and it's kind of our cheap man's version of Hydroblast. It doesn't get to destroy permanents, but you know, we get to counter anything that's in any color, so it helps us against like any combat tricks or inside out combos or anything like that. Dispel helps take care of. We're also running a 1 of Negate because Negate helps take care of enchantments in case we're like faced against Bogles or any like weird abundant growth ramp decks or anything like that, and also can handle artifacts in case we get run over by affinity or anything like that. Negate is a pretty flexible spell beyond countering just sorceries and instants. We're also running a 2 of Annul in the main board, which kind of rounds out our enchantment quote-unquote hate in the deck. It pretty much helps us to combat against, well, like the Bogles and other strategies just like those. Not only that, but can also fight the affinity deck or any sort of artifact-based strategy like Kuldoth of Boros. You know, we get to counter their Ichor Wellspring, that's what it's called. We can counter that, and it's just a very flexible card in the deck. Of course, if budget wasn't an issue, we'd probably be cutting the Annuls and the Dispels for stuff like obviously Pyroblast and Hydroblast. We're also running a 2 of Electrickery in the board. So normally in the blue-black version, this would just be Shrivel in the main board, but Shrivel takes care of all creatures on the board, whereas Electrickery takes care of stuff that isn't on your side of the board. It's just everything with your opponent if you overload it for the very, very low cost of 2 mana. We're also playing a 2 of Relic of Progenitus, so this card is just pretty average graveyard hate. as far as the Pauper format is concerned, it's pretty much one of the best graveyard hate cards in the format. Takes care of just any other sort of opposing delve strategies, or any tortured existence stuff that's running around, or anything that's just looking to abuse their graveyard, especially stuff like black-red reanimators. You know, you can get their Ulamog's Crushers out of the graveyard before they have the chance to exhume it or whatnot. We're also playing a 2 of Smash the Smithereens because I just don't like Affinity. It's pretty much the worst matchup against this deck just because the deck is just so good at producing threats, and Smash the Smithereens also has that added benefit of being able to smack our opponents in the face for damage. I wish we were playing green because I'd rather be playing Ancient Grudge, but you know what, whatever, Smash Smithereen works just fine. Rounding up our sideboard is the rest of the removal spells in our deck, so we have one more Doomblade to bring in against any other strategies, like of course, Affinity, if they have like Mirror Enforcer or anything like that. How many times have I mentioned Affinity? Regardless, Doomblade is just great to fight against any other sort of decks because it's just, well, destroy target non-black creature that dies. The Doomblade argument, there's a reason why. It's because the card's good. We're running 2 more Chainer's Edict. We also bring these in against like any like hexproof strategies like the Bogles, or just any sort of strategy where our normal removal spells wouldn't be able to get them. You know, Chainer's Edict can just help take care of that, especially if they have anything that's indestructible. Chainers can also nail them in case that creature happens to be the last creature. And to round out our removal spells, we have one more Tragic Slip, so we just bring this in case we bring in more removal spells, because, you know, Tragic Slip, while by itself is fine, you know, 1 mana for 1/1, whatever, it's blah. But if we kill something, we get that huge morbid benefit. So we just bring it in whenever we need to bring in other removal spells because just Tragic Slip is better. Why not? And that's the deck tech for you all. What do you all think? Do you think it's a bit unnecessary? Would you just rather play with blue-black Delver? Why or why not? I've had a lot of fun with this in my testing, and I think this is actually better than the blue-black version, even though people will say that like it's not as quote-unquote consistent in case you get like a Bloodfell Caves and you need blue mana. Oh well, I think like the added benefits of getting sweeter sideboard cards like Electrickery and getting better spells on the main board like Terminate definitely add up all together to just make a better and more fun experience than you would with blue-black Dimir. I'd rather be playing the Handlock deck with Chittering Rats and Archaeomancers and Ghostly Flickers. That's really fun on its own, and I don't know if you could do that in Grixis, but with Delver, you sure as shit can, and it's pretty close to being a legacy deck, save for the $1,200 mana base, or $2,000. God. Anyways, if you like the deck, be sure to throw a like my way, or throw a dislike if you disliked it for some reason. I don't know why. This deck is fun. Do you hate fun? You better not hate fun. I'm gonna come over to your house and teach you a lesson in Grixis Delver, baby. So yeah, remember to like, comment, share, all that jazz and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I'm Tasty Snackies. You all been wonderful, and I'll catch you on the flip side.